everyone, and welcome to the 71st episode of LA Rams Central. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Eric.
And we're back for another episode. A lot of stuff going on in the news we're going to cover. First off, Eric, I just want to say that for a couple of guys that don't know what they're doing, we certainly had a good week at 13-3, huh?
Yeah, I know, we got a little flack for taking a lot of the favorites in the games, but, there's really one, possibly two upsets that you come across. It's like some of those games, it's like, how do you pick them? I know I mentioned, picking the Cardinals, and I should have stuck with it because I really thought about it. But the way Jacksonville was playing this year, I just couldn't do it. So, but hey, you know what? It happens. So.
Well, and for me, the Ram game, it just came down to what the Rams hadn't done all year is what they actually pulled off, with the exception of a 74-yard run by Kamara. They held the Saints to well under 50 yards rushing total the rest of the game. So
there was a little bit more to it as well.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get into it, but, I'm not going to take any credit away from LA. That's not what I'm doing.
No.
I'll take credit away from the Saints as they basically gave that game away, and we'll tell you why.
Well, and I think the Rams took it away, and we'll get into that. But let's start with the Thursday games, Thanksgiving Day. Minnesota at Detroit. I'm going to be pretty simple here. Case Keenum continued to play hot. The Vikings defense continued to impress. And I've got to give credit where credit's due. Murray, who ran like crazy in Oakland a year ago, is running like crazy in Minnesota. This was a really good game. It was well played by Minnesota on all fronts. They should have won the game. They deserved to win the game. And when you snap a 4-game winning streak on Thanksgiving Day for Detroit, and it's been the team that's had your number, and you're able to beat them as soundly as you did, I think the Vikings have made a very loud statement the last 2 weeks that they have arrived. Now, where that ends up putting them, who knows? But these are two very big wins, one on the road, one at home. Now, I don't think Detroit's the same caliber of a Minnesota or a Carolina or an LA, but considering that was kind of their hurdle to get over in the division, appeared to be, they certainly accomplished that. So, big win for Minnesota as they move further into first place and are solidly now at number 2 thanks to what happened on Sunday between the Rams and Saints. Chargers, Cowboys, Eric, take it away.
What's funny about this game is that you wanted me to talk you off the ledge on taking this game, and I said there's no way. And, the Chargers proved it. So, I can't remember our listener who's a big Chargers fan who's like, yeah, talk about my Chargers. Well, here you go. Keenan Allen was a beast. Philip Rivers went in there on a mission saying, you know what, this is our time. I don't care if we're on the road. We're playing great football right now, and we're gonna take this game and we're gonna show everybody on Thanksgiving after their stomachs are full that we're the real deal. And the AFC West is wide open right now. Give the Chargers a lot of credit. They went into Dallas. Their kicker hurt their back, so he missed a field goal, a couple extra points. It was just a bad outright kicking game for San Diego, but they executed when they needed to, and their defense held the Cowboys' offense in check. It took 10 quarters for the Cowboys to score a touchdown without Ezekiel Elliott, and when you're going not that good as the way the Cowboys are after going 13-3 last year, they had a big meeting right after that game with their owner, Jerry Jones. So the Cowboys are headed in one direction and the Chargers are headed in the other. It was a big win for the Chargers.
Yeah. Well, the dumpster fire that is the New York Giants is continuing to implode.
I think there's a bigger dumpster fire, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. No joke. But, to me, this was a game the Redskins had to win, and the Redskins did win. And while their offense continues to sputter and their defense continues to overcome injuries, I know 20-10 doesn't sound like a solid win, but if you actually watch the game, and I did, The Redskins were never in trouble in losing this game. Even when it was close, you knew the Redskins were the better team and they would win. And they did pull away at the end. And I give Manning credit for fighting through a very terrible game with nothing around him. But the Redskins weren't going to lose this game. And this was a big win for Washington because now they go into really the only part of their schedule that's tough. And I don't really think it's all that tough considering what they've already accomplished this year and who they've beaten. But Kirk Cousins played really well considering, he doesn't have really a lot around him. And I don't even, at this point, can we really consider Jordan Reed a great tight end?
When he plays, maybe, but
yeah,
he hasn't been playing, so you can't make that determination. When he's on the field, he's one of the top 5 tight ends in the league. When he's not on the field, people forget him easily.
Well, and here's the thing, Eric. This year, when he has played, he hasn't been impressive.
Well, I mean, he's been playing all year hurt. He came into the offseason hurt. He came into preseason hurt. He came into the regular season hurt. He just needs to get right. You know what? Just put him in IR.
Shut it down.
Get healthy. If you need surgery, get it. Be ready for offseason OTAs and training camp, and that's when we really need you.
Yeah. No doubt the Redskins need to win this game, and at 5-6, in my opinion, they're the most dangerous 5-6 team in the running because they have all the tiebreakers. That's what's amazing. With the exception, not of the exception. I mean, they play the Cardinals yet, so that's going to be a tie-breaking advantage if they win it. They've got the tiebreaker over Seattle. Sure, Minnesota and New Orleans they don't have the tiebreaker over, but that's about it, really. They even have a tiebreaker over the Rams if it ever came down to it. Philly's got them beat. But that's it. 3 of the 6 teams in the playoffs right now have a tiebreaker over the Redskins. And there's a lot of teams that are trying to get into the playoffs that the Redskins have an advantage over. So this is a big win for Washington. As far as big wins, let's go with Atlanta because my fantasy football team put up 155 points. Thank you, Julio Jones. Take it away.
Yeah, the Falcons. I told you this was going to be a game where the Falcons came out, and I didn't think that they would come out like Julio Jones would come out, gangbusters. But this was a game that featured the air attack, that featured the Tevin Coleman show, and again the Buccaneers couldn't generate any pressure. So the Falcons ended up winning this one, 34-20. The Falcons, if I'm not mistaken, are currently the 6th seed.
Yep.
Or maybe they're just right out of the.
No, they're the 6th seed.
Playoffs, but
they're
there. They're going to be tough. Again, I think they just miss out, but we'll see how they play through the rest of the home stretch. But Tampa Bay, they played with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback the last couple of weeks. Looks like Jameis Winston will be back. We'll preview that game on the next show. But Tampa Bay is floundering, and the Falcons are starting to get hot at the right time, so watch out for the rest of the NFC South.
Yeah, it's back to business as normal. The Falcons are the 6th seed. They have the tiebreaker over Seattle because they beat them. Cleveland at Cincinnati. This was 30-16. The Bengals are starting to get hot. To me, their season begins and ends on Monday night against the Steelers. They are in a vicarious situation where they have to not only win, but they have to keep winning. And this was a game they had to win. And you know what they did? They took care of business against a bad football team, 30-16. They dominated from beginning to end. They're starting to run the ball more. A.J. Green is still A.J. Green. Andy Dalton's being efficient. The defense is starting to play better. I know it's the Browns, and it's nothing to bang your drum about, which is why I made the statement I did before I went into this game. But you got to beat these teams if you're making a run. And the Bengals beat them twice, and they should beat them twice. So I'm not sitting here saying the Bengals are playoff bound by any stretch of the imagination, but they played the type of game they needed to play against an 0-11 football team or 0-10 football team. So Kudos to the Bengals for getting it done. It looks like that offense is starting to click, and we'll see what happens. But Tennessee-Indy was a game that maybe was a little too close for comfort, huh, E?
Yeah, Tennessee on the road going to Indy. Tennessee pulls it off by 4, 20-16. Not much to really talk about right home about this game, except Tennessee got the win on against a tough division opponent. And I say tough because Indy has played tough all year. They just haven't been able to seal the deal and get some leads. They've lost games in overtime by 3. They've lost games right at the end of the fourth quarter by 3. So, a couple of wins here, a couple of wins there. They're 5-5. Okay, maybe even 6-4. But it's a team right now that's searching for an identity. Tennessee, for fantasy players out there, if you're starting Marcus Mariota, sorry, he's just not putting up the numbers he's capable of. Tennessee found a way to get this game to the win column, and they actually were trailing from behind for a while in this game. Derrick Henry had a nice day with 79 yards, but it was Brissett who led off passers with just under 200, and Jack Doyle was the leading receiver against both teams with 94 yards. So, again, sloppiness, not converting, third downs, third and shorts or whatnot. Tennessee pulled out the win. Really, that's all that matters, and they're sticking. They needed a game to stick with Jacksonville because they were playing later in the afternoon, and we'll get to that.
Yes, we will. Buffalo at Kansas City. Buffalo really is an enigma. I don't know what to make of them. Kansas City's free falling. They've made that division close again. I believe in Andy Reid and think that the Chiefs will correct it. At this point, the Mahomes chatter, which we thought was ridiculous, may be warranted now. I hate to say it, but it's true. Because when you're free falling like the Chiefs are, you've got to do something to fix the problem. And I watched this game, and I'm telling you, man, Alex Smith looked like his rookie year. Bad interceptions, stupid decisions downfield, missing open guys. The running game's non-existent. The defense is getting zero pressure on the quarterback. They are too good to be playing this bad. Now, I know they're missing Alex Berry, but he doesn't sack the quarterback. He doesn't block the defensive line. He doesn't open up holes. He doesn't run the ball. This is a problem they need to fix. And, you put the rookie in and you're tanking. Not tanking. I hate that word. It's overused right now. You're putting yourself in a position where the free fall could be a total fall. But what do you do if you're Kansas City? You've got to fix this somewhere, and the quarterback ain't getting the job done. It's not like the situation in New York. He has the same pieces. I don't know why the Chiefs refuse to get the ball to Kelsey, refuse to run the ball with Hunt, and get the ball deep and in trickeration plays to Tyreek Hill. I don't know what's going on. What I do know is their defense is really underperforming in this streak as well. I give a lot of credit to Buffalo. Their defense played hard, they played fast, and they played consistent. And now the Chiefs are in a position where you lose to the Giants, you lost to Buffalo, now you got to go, I think they go to New York next week, to the Jets. Or are they home? Yeah, they go to the Jets.
Yes,
so they're on the verge of going 0 for New York. Like, everyone. So they need to get this thing locked down because if they lose next week, Eric, put a fork in them. They're done. But this was a game that Buffalo just simply came out, played like they had nothing to lose, like they were embarrassed about the Charger situation. And the Chiefs kind of went out there like, oh, we got this in the bag already. And it was a sock in the jaw, and they went down for the count on one punch. It was like a Mike Tyson 1988 heavyweight bout. Bell rings, boom, down, over. It was like, oh my gosh. What is... I think
you're referring to Tyson McNeely.
Yeah.
93 seconds.
Yeah, literally. I mean, it was like, oh my God, what is going on in Kansas City? And they just never looked right the whole game. So credit to Buffalo. They're kind of back in the picture. And, man, Kansas City better start playing Tom Petty free falling every time they have a home game because that's what they're doing. Miami at New England. It's all you. Go.
Yeah, it might be all me, but it was all New England in this game. Miami tried to keep it close for the first half. They even got a defensive score off of a Tom Brady fumble. Actually, it really wasn't Brady fumbling. It was the center hiking it past Brady, and Brady trying to run after it. So I don't really put that on Brady. Maybe he was calling out the play and hiking the ball or whatnot, but the center's got to know what's going on too. So
Can I ask you a question?
that was one blip in the radar for New England. Otherwise, Brady was just surgical Brady at home like normal. He didn't have the good numbers, passing yards, but he had 227 yards. He had 4 touchdown passes, 2 to Gronk, 1 to Burkhead, 1 to Brandon Cooks. And the Brandon Cooks, I'm sorry, that did not look like a pass to me. I know he just kind of shoveled it forward slightly, but it was more like, here, I'm going to put it up in the air, and you go grab it out of the air, and whatever. And that looks more like a running play to me, but I don't make the rules. So New England took care of business at home, just like I thought they would. That was, let's see here, if I am correct. Yeah, Matt Moore started that game because Cutler was out of it. But Jarvis Landry had a decent game, but nobody on Miami was really into that game too much. I don't know what to say about Miami, but New England's hitting on all cylinders right now.
Well, what's funny is with this rivalry going all the way back to when Shula was the head coach, Miami struggled in New England even when the Patriots were bad, and the Patriots have always struggled in Miami even when the Dolphins have been bad. So that's kind of interesting. I have a quick question on this game. Do you think maybe the center snapped it past Tom Brady because the ball was a little deflated?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, enough of those jokes. All right, Carolina at the Jets. This game went exactly the way people, I think, kind of thought it would. Give the Jets credit. They kind of made it a game for a bit, but Christian McCaffrey had a big game. Cam Newton continued to run the ball. I continue to be amazed at how reluctant Cam Newton is at getting the ball to McCaffrey. You're down a wide receiver. You had a tight end come back. But I watched this game because I have McCaffrey on my fantasy team, and it's like 4 different times in the first quarter. You just look to Cam Newton's right, and you've got Christian McCaffrey doing jumping jacks and calisthenics because there's no one near him. And Cam Newton either runs it or throws the ball way downfield into double coverage, and you're like, really? You've got that big of a problem with Christian McCaffrey that you can't? If that's Goff, he's dumping it all day, every day until the linebacker comes up. Like, I don't get what the disconnect is. It's not that I'd love for Christian McCaffrey to get the ball, 45 times a game. But the guy should I know he's leading the team in receptions. I understand that. But the dude should be around 70 receptions this year, not 60. He should be closer to 80 with how open he's been. Next game you get a chance to watch Carolina, Eric, I want you to watch it. Watch how open he is in the intermediate swing and flat. Like, no one covers him. There's certain routes he'll run that they'll cover him, but those little short dump-offs, they don't even bother because they know Cam Newton's not going to throw to him. It's mind-boggling. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter. Carolina's just a better team, and they got a big win on the road against a bad team. I think Kuechly finished the game. No concussion for him, which is good for Carolina. Hopefully that continues. And now we go to the very best team in football, the Philadelphia Eagles. Eric, Eagles and Bears, take it away.
Yeah, this was kind of like the Miami game, except Miami scored 2 more touchdowns than the Bears. The Bears looked lost. They looked like they didn't have a game plan. They didn't get a first down until the third quarter. Wentz, you think he'd have gaudy numbers, but 227 yards passing. Ertz had 103 yards receiving. Of course, Alshon Jeffrey had his 50-plus yards and a touchdown. He also exited with a slight injury. Are you surprised?
No.
Okay. Anyways, so Philly just tore up the Bears a new one. And I'm surprised they actually didn't run up the score a little bit more. It's funny. After the game, during the game, actually, I was on kind of scrolling through Facebook a little bit, and everybody's like, oh, my God, this is horrible. And they were all just ticked off. And I'm like, do you guys really expect anything else? And I was getting some responses from people like, oh, they could have showed up. I'm like, well, they did, but they didn't really play well. And I'm like, I knew this wasn't going to be a Bears win. If anybody was expecting a Bears win, you might need your head examined. But Philly, let me put it like this for this game. Philly was not caught looking ahead to Seattle. And, some people actually mentioned that, but wasn't happening with them.
No. I'm glad you mentioned Carson Wentz not having a good game, because what's been really flooring me is how well the Rams have been playing, but how well Goff has been playing. He has been outperforming Carson Wentz week in and week out, and yet you listen to the experts and you think Carson Wentz is the runaway best player in football. I don't think anyone has performed better over the last 5 weeks, and I'm including the 24-7 loss, than Jared Goff. I mean, he threw for 4 touchdowns, did Carson Wentz a few weeks ago, only 199 yards. Jared Goff threw for over 400 yards or 300 yards, whatever it was, against the Giants at 4 touchdowns. And you wouldn't have known it because Carson Wentz took all the publicity. And I'm just sitting there going, really? Really? Okay. Because right now, I think they are 1A and 1B. But I think over the last few games, maybe it's because Carson Wentz hasn't had to do as much, but Jared Goff has surpassed, I think, Carson Wentz this year overall. And I'm not saying that because I'm a homer. I'm saying that because I'm looking at the numbers. I mean, 300 yards, 354 yards this week against the Saints defense. Look, this Ram game, we're talking about it now. There's so many things that impress me about this game. I want to start with the head coach. You come off a 24-7 loss, and you clearly got your team motivated to play a game against an opponent that, for all intents and purposes, you shouldn't have beaten. They had a better talent on offense than we do on defense at the skill positions. Okay? They were red hot. They run the ball really well, and the Rams don't stop the run. The Rams obviously addressed that issue, both with Wade Phillips and Sean McVay. They incorporated Todd Gurley early and then used Jared Goff late in the first half, and then used Jared Goff early and late with sprinkles in of Todd Gurley, reminding the Saints he's still around. Now, Todd Gurley, we wanted the Todd Gurley show. We got the Todd Gurley show. Over 150 yards of total offense. Jared Goff was slinging it on 1st and 10, on 3rd and short, traditional running downs. I mean, completely had the Saints off balance. And he attacked the Saints at their very weak link, which was the secondary, because they had those 2 corners that were out this week, and he completely exposed it. But that's game planning. The players still have to execute. And you know something? Reynolds, who I said on LT's pregame was going to step up and have a big game. Cooper Kupp stepped up and finally showed up in a big game. And I do say finally because he hasn't shown up in the last 3, Washington, Seattle, and Minnesota. Watkins stepped up and had a big game. Tyler Higbee stepped up today and played, this week and played really well. But to me, Goff was the story. I mean, this guy looked like Roman Gabriel out there. In the pocket, shifting around, slinging it, I dare say Joe Montana, with this modified West Coast offense. He can throw the deep ball. He can throw the short ball. He's got accuracy on the medium route into double coverage. He had one throw where he directed the receiver and then threw it into double coverage and split the defenders for a touchdown to Reynolds. I think that was the 3rd touchdown of the game that he threw, or the 2nd. I have nothing but high praise to say about Goff. But the reason the Rams won this game, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, and I'll let you give your analysis here as well, it was a threefold issue. One, coaching and game plan was solid, and the offense executed, and pressure on the quarterback. They let Breeze know early, if you throw it, we're all over you. So you better go to the running game, which, oh, by the way, we're also shutting down. Now, when Kamara busted the 74-yard run, I was thinking, here we go again. But I also thought to myself, as the Saints kicked the extra point after the Kamara touchdown, Against Jacksonville, we gave up a long run, and then they never scored. They never ran the ball again the rest of the game. We shut it down. Maybe we'll do it again here. And it's exactly what the Rams did. This was a complete and total team win. Special teams consistently gave that offense good field position. They responded every time the Saints did something. They got the lead on them. They pressured the quarterback. They stopped the run. They ran the ball. They threw the ball. They protected the quarterback, with the exception of the 2 sacks, and one of them was, I think, more on the secondary, just doing a really good job of coverage and causing a coverage sack. But this is the kind of win that can propel a team into the next stratosphere. And there's no chance the Rams are letting down against the Cardinals because they know what's coming up. And the fact that the Seahawks are hot on their heels, they don't know if Seattle's going to collapse like we think they might. So they've got to keep winning. Take it away, E.
So even though it's your boy Blake Gabbert, you don't think that they're going to have a letdown?
I think it's going to be better than 33-0, but no, I don't think the Cardinals are going to win.
Okay. I didn't ask if they were going to win or not, but anyways, okay. So here's what I got. We actually got the game out, which was great. I was able to watch 2 first-place teams duke it out. And I really liked what I saw from the Rams. They were consistent on both throwing the ball and running the ball. Gurley had a decent day, but it was more of what he did to help protect Goff, to get open in the flat burst screen pass, to take what the defense was giving him. He wasn't trying to force anything, which was what you wanted to see out of Gurley in this game. Again, they gave up a couple of big runs to Kamara. He was their lone bright spot. They had a touchdown called back later on in the game for offensive PI against, I want to say, Fleeter or Josh Hill. I can't remember. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Michael Hulamanawanu.
Yeah.
He threw a kicker and whatnot, and the refs called him for OPI. So that negated a Mark Ingram touchdown, which would have made the game a lot closer. But they had New Orleans offense guessing all day. If Breeze was back to pass, he was getting rushed from each angle. If they were running, obviously they had a little bit more time to set up the pass. But the Rams did a great job shutting New Orleans down to 20 points. Now, I also give New Orleans kind of an X in they were down 13 points, and then we kick a field goal in the fourth quarter to still be down 2 scores. No, you're playing to keep the score close, okay? If they go and convert on fourth down, I think it was like a 4th and 5 or 4th and 6, but they were in field goal range, so they opted to take the field goal. They would have gone in and scored a touchdown. The final score with that, with everything else being the same as 26-24, okay? New Orleans needed their defense to come up with another stop. And they couldn't stop the Rams' offense. And if they did stop them, they would whistle for a penalty. Whether or not you want to call it a foolish penalty, that's your judgment call, but penalty was called, so they have to live with it. But Sean Payton didn't coach the last half of that game to win. He coached to keep the score close. And you don't win brownie points in the NFL.
No.
You either win it or you lose. And Payton decided, hey, I'm going to go for a field goal here. He must have thought something about his offense in that game because, Breeze wasn't Breeze. It's very rare when Breeze isn't Breeze, and he didn't get a touchdown pass until the fourth quarter. So for LA to hold them to hold Breeze down like that, their defense is doing something right. Yeah. But again, Sean Payton didn't coach to win the game, and it was sad because if he did go for it on fourth down, okay, I understand if you miss it, then you lose most likely 26-17. It's still a close game. Okay? Again, no brownie points for losing, but New Orleans did what they could to hand that game over, to not make it a game with 5 minutes left. Again, they needed a defensive stop. They couldn't get it. They just could not get the ball back.
No.
So, credit LA for a huge win there, and I think that's something that they needed. Because I know we were looking at their schedule and saying, okay, who are they going to be able to beat? And I know we looked at New Orleans saying, can they beat New Orleans? They can. Do we think they will? No. Okay. This is one of those games where we didn't think that they would win, but they pulled it out. And this is going to propel them to, they're going to look at the Cardinals. Hopefully, they're not overlooking the Cardinals like they think that they're going to do what they did to them last time. Because it's a completely different Cardinal team. But that's Philly in 2 weeks, so that they could be a trap game, but I don't want to put that on them yet. I think they're too young of a team, and I think McVay is too good of a coach to let them think of a trap game right now.
Well, and I'm going to counter that. I'm going to say I don't think the Rams believe right now with their one game at a time attitude. I don't believe trap games are in their arsenal. And look, if I'm a head coach of the Rams, McVay's going to say this. You guys aren't good enough to have a trap game. You aren't good enough to overlook anybody. You guys haven't had a winning season since 2003. And that's the other thing that they got in front of them with this Cardinal game that McVay can dangle in front of them. You've got an opportunity for 9 wins. That's a winning season, which hasn't happened for this organization since 03. It hasn't happened to the LA Rams since 89. So there's enough there to dangle in front of the Rams to say, you win this game. You got to win this game. So I think we'll see it. I don't think we're going to see a letdown. But, for me, Eric, we talked about the things the Rams had to do to win this game. It had to be the Todd Gurley show. Their defense had to stop the run. And they needed all 3 phases to step up and play. It's exactly what they did. They did everything we said they needed to do in this game. And I want to ask you a question before I move on to the Seahawks 49er game. Did you I get the feeling with you've been waiting for the Rams to get that signature win before you would really jump fully on board here. Was this the signature win you were looking for?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, this is a win that, let's do this in front of our home fans. That signature win could have been Minnesota had they won that game. Obviously, extenuating circumstances, they lost, but they needed to right this ship after that Minnesota game and get that win as soon as they could. And with New Orleans coming to town, sure they lose to one first place team, they beat another first place team, but that was a big win. Saying, you know what, we know we can beat New Orleans in case we end up falling a game back for some reason, and we have to go to New Orleans. We know we can beat them.
Yeah. San Francisco, Seattle. Seattle was at San Francisco. This is Beathard's final start. Seattle, I don't know what to say. They beat a team they were supposed to. The Niners are bad. The Seahawks are better. We're going to get a better idea, after they lost to Atlanta. We kind of think the Seahawks are where we think they are. They got Philadelphia coming to town next week, or this week, which I think Philly's going to win. By the time they get Dallas, Zeke is back, and the Cowboys completely change in the dynamic of what kind of football team they're going to be. So I think that's going to be a problem for Seattle. They let Dwight Freeney go. But, this is one of those games. Seattle, I don't care how depleted they may be, this wasn't a game they were going to lose. Russell Wilson played well. Baldwin played well. The defense stepped up and made turnovers and did things. The Niners are just a bad football team. Seattle is a superior team in comparison. I expected this win, and that's exactly what we got. Really quick before I go to Arizona, Jacksonville, is there anything you want to add here, E, or no?
Seattle took care of business like they should have. It was a lot closer in Seattle when they played earlier in the year, but Seattle did what they needed to do to beat San Francisco and keep pace in the NFC West. And, Russell Wilson was himself in this game. He was running the ball, he was passing the ball, and he took care of the football, and Seattle won. Again, you need those division games. You need those games against other top-tier teams as well, that Seattle has coming up in next week. But, they did what they could to stay within reach of the Rams.
Yeah, for now. I think the roof is about to cave in on them. Jacksonville at Arizona, I give the Cardinals credit here. They played a great game. They played a great defense. They beat it up. They found holes in it. Gabbert, um, Gabbert is a better quarterback in this system. I'm sorry, he just is. And maybe from what I saw in preseason, from what I saw in the Houston game, and what little I saw in this Jacksonville game, Blaine Gabbert right now in Arizona is what Case Keenum is in Minnesota. It's just he hasn't had an entire season to showcase it. I expect the Cardinals will play a much better game next week, or I keep saying next week, this week against the Rams. I don't think they're going to win, but I do think it's going to be a much better game than 33-0. It might be like 22-7, 22-10, but I think the Rams will still win kind of comfortably. But or maybe even 32-17. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to go the same way because this quarterback is far more competent. And the Cardinals' defense is starting to play better, and that's what we saw in the Jacksonville game. The reason the Cardinals won this game was because of their defense. Tyrann Mathieu had a pick. They put pressure on the quarterback. They got turnovers, and they capitalized off of those turnovers. And they're going to be banking on that again this week against the Rams, and all I can say to that is good luck because the Rams will utilize everyone, and I think the Rams have far more weapons on their offense than the Jacksonville Jaguars have, and the Cardinals are going to have to figure that out. But big win for Arizona. It gets them back in the playoff picture. We'll see how long it lasts, but this is a game that I was leaning towards picking Arizona, but like you, we should have been 14-2 this week because we were both thinking of switching this pick, but we didn't. Denver at Oakland. You've got the next two, Denver at Oakland, Green Bay at Pitt. We'll start with Denver at Oakland. Go.
Yeah, Denver, Oakland. Oakland did what they needed to do to win this game. And it was 14-0, 21-0, and then Denver scored two touchdowns. Denver was really never in this game. Oakland pretty much had complete control. There was a brawl early on in this game between Aqib Talib and hothead Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree. And Crabtree doesn't have the coolest head on the block either. So they both got tossed. So he's got a 2-game ban, but got it down to 1. And Crabtree was a little ticked off because Talib pretty much started it off. Crabtree even said that he taped his chain to his chest so Talib wouldn't be able to get it, yet he still got it, ripped it off, and threw it down or did something. Hey, Crabtree, next time you face the Broncos, I have an idea. Take all your chains off and put them in your locker. Thanks. Problem solved. Oakland won 21-14. Henson Lynch started. He didn't finish. He sprained his ankle. He's out a few weeks. Trevor Simeon's back in. Quarterback musical chairs for Denver. Not a recipe for success. There's more teams that are doing that right now. And while we know that Denver's not going anywhere, they're looking at a high draft pick already in the upcoming draft. But Oakland had a big win here to keep pace with the Chargers, who they're a half game behind because the Chargers have won that first head-to-head meeting. They still have a second one coming up, and the 1 game behind the Chiefs. Actually, I would say half game behind the Chiefs if the Chiefs lose because they beat the Chiefs by a point. They lose by a point, they win by a point.
Right.
It's crazy how the way football works, but Oakland's right there in the thick of things in the West. The West is not that great right now, so somebody's got to win it, and we'll see which out of the three is going to do it. Green Bay, Pittsburgh, this was a lot closer game than I thought. Green Bay was coming off a shutout at home in which they were shut out by the Ravens. Pardon me, they go into Pittsburgh, they put up 28 points. Had a lead, actually, most of the game. And then, did you see any of this game by chance, Anthony?
No, I would have rather watched paint dry or eat shards of broken glass.
Did you see the highlight of the Antonio Brown catch in the fourth quarter?
No.
Okay, well, Roethlisberger threw this pass perfectly in between two defenders along the sideline. Brown caught it with his hands up, and his feet were already down. He just dragged his right foot. It was one of the sweetest passes that I have seen this year so far. And I mean, when you have a wide receiver of that caliber, he makes those catches look easy day in and day out. Pittsburgh, that's how I knew Pittsburgh wasn't going to go to overtime in this game. So they won it on a field goal by Chris Boswell. He actually hit a 57-yarder at the buzzer, one of the longest field goals at Heinz Field, with the way the wind's blowing in because they have an opening in one of the end zones. But Roethlisberger had a big passing night, 351 yards, Brown 169 yards. This was a big weekend for wide receivers, everyone. I mean, if you go back and you look, the Thanksgiving Day games had wide receivers, the leading receivers, there were three that were one in each game that were over 100. Julio Jones was over 250. Robbie Anderson for the Jets had 146. Zach Ertz led all tight ends with 103. Cooper Kupp 116, and then he had Brown with 169. And that's not even getting to the Monday night game, which we'll get to here in a bit. But Pittsburgh did what they had to do to win this game, and credit the Packers and Brett Hundley for coming out. They put up 4 touchdowns on Pittsburgh, and I thought Pittsburgh would have a better defense, especially after what happened against Baltimore. But give credit to Green Bay, give them credit for being ready for this game, being amped up, and making this game. It could have easily have been a blowout. Now Pittsburgh is probably looking at that their schedule, saying, how did we lose to the Bears? I mean, if we don't have that loss, with the way the standings are, the Patriots are 9-2, the Steelers are 9-2. If the Steelers don't lose to the Bears, they're 10-1, and they have that inside track on home field advantage, because that's what you're starting to look at now with 5 games to go. So, what ifs and could have and should have and whatnot, but Pittsburgh did what they had to do to keep pace for a big game in 2 weeks with New England coming up. Probably will decide home field advantage in the AFC, but Pittsburgh had a great game plan. Defensive game plan, not so much, but credit Green Bay's offense for driving up and down the field on those Steelers.
Maybe if the Steelers weren't so focused on politics and focused on the Bears, they would have beaten Chicago in Chicago.
Yeah, well, it's week.
Perhaps we should be.
It's 10 weeks or 9 weeks afterwards, so a lot of that has kind of fallen through and isn't made much of a big deal as it was 9 weeks ago. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but I think a lot of that is behind these teams now.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but are we really not going to address the elephant in the room? The second best team in the AFC needed a 57-yard field goal at the buzzer to beat a team that will probably finish 6-10 in the NFC. Do we really believe the Patriots or Steelers are going to even show up in the Super Bowl against the NFC winner?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. I would like to know what kind of cocaine you're snorting, because it's some really good stuff. All right. Colombian. All right. The Monday night game. Houston at Baltimore. It was a closer game than I thought it should have been. Baltimore played really well. Another receiver had a big game in this one, righty?
Yeah, Gator Hopkins went over 100 with 125. The receiver city this week. Hopkins is already a beast, so I wouldn't expect anything less from him.
No. But considering he's doing it once again with no quarterback, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, look, the Ravens, in my opinion, are the best kept secret in the AFC. I don't think anyone in the AFC, if they're going to be honest, wants the Ravens in the playoffs, because they're going to lose. Because I think the Ravens right now are slowly showing they may be the best team in the AFC in their own right. I'm not saying they're better than New England and Pittsburgh, but they're playing better than New England and Pittsburgh right now, because they're beating better competition, and they're beating lesser competition by bigger numbers. They went into Lambeau and shut out the Packers. The Packers went into Pittsburgh and put up 28 points. You tell me which is more impressive. I don't think anyone wants to play that defense, and they're just getting better each week.
Not to talk about each subject, but not agree regarding the Ravens as it stands. Currently, they are they're the second wild card in the AFC. They have nobody to throw the ball to. Don't give me this. Oh, they got Macklin and they got Wallace and they got Nick Boyle and whatnot. They face a halfway decent defense and they're not scoring. I'm sorry, they're just not scoring. Say what you will about the defense. I'll give you their defense all day because I think their defense is still outstanding, but it's not. Obviously, it's not on the level of 2000. But Suggs is still a beast on that defensive line or the defensive front seven. At 37 years old, his 15th year in the league. I still remember the 2002 draft, everyone. I really do, and it breaks my heart that Suggs should have been a Chicago Bear with the way that draft unfolded. But they decided to trade out of their spot, move back. Baltimore took him, and they haven't looked back ever since. No. Still salty about that a little bit, but with Weddle out there, they even talked about a guy on a Monday Night Football broadcast before the game started. I think he was number 90 or 99 on defense, but he's a beast. Like I said, I forget his name. I apologize, but maybe if I can get to their defensive depth chart really quick. Let's see. One moment. I apologize. Should have this up. C.J. Mosley's always a beast, but who is it? It is Matthew Judon, number 99 linebacker, plays on the opposite side of Suggs. He is making a name for himself throughout this whole season. He's in his second season. He played at a small school. He played at Grand Valley State up in Michigan. And, Baltimore has reaped the benefits because this guy came in without a D1 scholarship. He goes to play at Grand Valley State. And he's just like, you know what? I see the ball. I'm going to take the ball away. And you might be running with the ball, but you're not getting very far. You're going to be behind that line of scrimmage when I get done with you. So, I'll give you their defense all day, but what really scares me is if Flacco is flushed out of the pocket and he goes down and slides. Every time he slides, he's either going to get hit high, unfortunately, and I don't like to see that. But every time he slides, you ever notice he slides and then his knee brace comes off or gets tangled up and whatnot? He slides the wrong way, his knee goes out again.
Yeah, I know. But that offense is better than the 2000 offense. I'll give it that. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah. Head and shoulders above that offense. But, when Flacco's only throwing for 200 yards a game and they're only running for maybe another 100 yards a game between three different running backs, it's going to be hard to sustain that success throughout the playoffs.
For sure. We'll see. They get a couple of good matchups coming up down the stretch. All right. Thursday night, Washington at Dallas. No Ezekiel Elliott, Washington. I got the Redskins winning this game. Because I do think that P. Ryan's going to be able to find lanes to run through. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be able to go off. I think Dak Prescott is lost. I think the Dallas Cowboys have no clue how to stop a football team that is actually competent at running and throwing, and I don't think that the Dallas Cowboys have an identity running the ball. Darren McFadden just retired after he was released. They're going to Alfred Morris, and no one knows Alfred Morris better than the Redskins coaching staff. So if that's going to be your go-to linchpin, he'll get 50 yards and maybe a touchdown, and that'll be it. So I got Washington all day in this one.
You hit on pretty much all the points that I was going to say. The NFL did this right with having these two play the Thursday prior, then getting a full week. I like that they do that. They could have gotten 10 or 11 days or whatnot, but I like that they're playing on Thursday against each other as far as that goes because these two teams played on Thanksgiving, and I like the fact that Washington probably wanted to get back out of that field really quicker than they normally would have to face another division opponent, and they know that they can go into Dallas to win this game. I have Washington win this game. Jameson Crowder has come on big time for the Redskins, and I expect a big vertical passing game for Washington in this game. I look for Cousins to have over 300 yards passing, and I think you might see another one of those 31-6, 31-7, 31-9 type of games in favor of Washington, because Dallas can't score right now, and that's a problem in the NFL. You can't score, you don't win. And I don't care if Jerry Jones, I don't care what he said in the locker room after Thanksgiving, but it's not going to help matters any. As you mentioned, McFadden retired. They have Rod Smith to back up Alfred Morris, and it's just not enough. They can't get the ball to Bryant. They can't get the ball to Terrence Williams. Cole Beasley gets 2 catches a game if he's lucky, and Williams going down 5 yards, turning around and catching what he can. But they're not sustaining that for drive after drive after drive. Give me Washington all day in this game, and like I said, I think it's going to be over by about the third quarter.
Yeah. All righty. Let's get to the news.
Oh, yeah. There's a bunch of NFL news.
Yeah, there definitely is. So, let me just start by saying this. You make $4.5 million a year, and you can't get a haircut that makes you look like a grown-up. I don't know what the deal is with Ben McAdoo's hair, but I will tell you that as ridiculous as his hairstyle is, his coaching's even worse. His decision-making is even worse. Not only am I going to say shame on the New York Giants, ownership, general manager, and Ben McAdoo, but shame on any Giant fan out there that has been calling for Eli to be benched. I hope he doesn't play another down in New York. I hope Geno Smith is your life for the next 12 years. I hope Eli Manning goes to the Jets and leads them to 2 more Super Bowls. Everything you've got coming to you, for all of you New Yorkers out there who hated on Eli, you want to know what it's like to not have a quarterback? Welcome to the life of a Ram fan going all the way back after Kurt Warner left the organization. We had to endure Sam Bradford.
Oh, we can go farther.
We can go farther. But what I'm saying is...
Bears fans can go farther.
You can go all the way back to Jim McMahon.
No, we go all the way back to Sid Luckman.
Well, you had Jim McMahon. I'm not going to let you get away with that. You had Jim McMahon. But then, yes, then you have to go to Sid Luckman. So you had one quarterback in a century, essentially. To me, I don't understand the logic. You really think Geno Smith gives you the best chance to win? If you really believe that, then you need to be having a cardboard box in your hand and you need to be walking out the stadium looking for a new job, because you are not only an idiot, but you are the definition of recycled dog crap. The whole reason they brought Ben McAdoo and his ridiculous haircut to the head coaching position and booted Coughlin was because of the relationship he had with Eli Manning and how good of a coach he was and how he elevated Eli Manning. If that was the reason, and you're having Eli play so poorly that you got to go with Geno, why is Ben McAdoo still there? Why is he still there? I've said this before, and I'll say it again. And I don't mean to be gross, okay? And I normally keep this classy. Okay, I'm glad I said that, because I almost said something that would have been really funny, but really disgusting. So I'll change it. The beard hair that I shave off of my face that lands in the sink can do a better job of coaching than that idiot in New York. And I felt that way last year. The Giants were 11-5 by luck, because the stars aligned perfectly. Okay? Because the gods smiled down on the New York Giants. Landon Collins alone was the reason the Giants beat the Rams, and the fact the Rams had Case Keenum and Jeff Fisher. Otherwise, that's 10 wins, And I don't know if that's good enough to get you in. It's so ridiculous that this man is able to stand in front of a camera and have the brass balls to say to the people, oh, I don't think it's closing the book on Eli Manning. Are you kidding me? If you're back, do you really think Eli Manning's going to come back? And if he does, it's because your rear end was fired. I don't care how classy of a person you are. You're not going to come back and play for that nitwit in that organization. The Giants deserve everything coming to them for this decision. And for you Giant fans, I'll close the book on this, that have been crying that Eli is garbage, get rid of Eli, you reap what you sow. And the chickens have come home to roost. Your turn.
Yeah, this is the Giants have really bungled their way over their franchise quarterback. Okay, he's 37, great. Who cares? Is he going to go to the Jets next year? No. The only logical landing spot for him is he can't go back to New York. Not after this, but
he's going to Jacksonville.
His contract is tough to where they could either release him and make him a post-June June 1st cut, or they could trade him, but he's got a no trade clause in his contract.
Oh, he'll waive it.
Of course, the logical landing spot for him is in Jacksonville.
Right.
And they do have a talented defense. They have the weapons around him. I think his offensive weapons are a slight downgrade as far as receivers go from what he had in New York. But his running game gets a huge boost, especially if Fournette is healthy. We could talk about this till we're blue in the face, but apparently the Giants came to Eli with an offer that said, hey, how about you play the first half the rest of the year, and then we're going to get we're probably going to start with Gino in 1 or 2 games, and then Davis Webb in the rest to get him some reps. And Eli just snickered and laughed. He's like, no, because that's more of a disgrace to Eli. What they should have done was say, hey, last home game against the Cardinals is Eli Manning Appreciation Day, and this is going to be Eli's last start in a Giants home game and possibly for the season. That would have been a little bit more respectable. But when you're talking about a franchise icon, probably one of the best quarterbacks in your franchise history, then there's no better way to treat him than with respect and almost let him go out on his own terms. I was hoping the Bears would do that with Brian Urlacher when he finally decided to hang him up, but they said they weren't going to offer him a contract. Basically, let me rephrase that. Urlacher wanted a 2-year deal, and the Bears would only offer one, and he said no. So that's where the decision came in to split. So I know it's harder when they get older because they're just not as productive at that age. And I get it. It's a business. But again, maintain some level of respect. Maintain some level of dignity, especially with your already frustrated fan base and a 2-9 team that's already there. We all know Magic is not going to be back. He didn't get the vote. There's no sense in giving him any type of vote of confidence. There's no sense in giving him anything except go do your job on a daily basis. We'll talk at the end of the season. Meaning, Monday, you're probably fired.
Okay. Hold on. This is where I got to interject. If that's the case, then the Giant ownership should have stepped in, because I believe McAdoo's coming back. I'm telling you right now, I don't think he gets fired. Okay, then explain to me, Eric, why ownership would allow this idiot, who they're not bringing back in a couple of weeks, to make this decision. For the streak alone, why would you let him do this? You talk about plummeting ticket sales. Do you really think Giant fans are going to pack the stadium to watch Geno Smith play quarterback?
I don't think it's all on McAdoo. I also think it's on Jerry Reese, the GM.
Well, he should be gone too.
I think it's a joint decision between those two.
Eric, the problem is with this decision is there is no logical progression with it. You are not getting better with Geno Smith in the lineup. You are getting worse. I don't think the Giants are going to score in Oakland this week. I'm predicting a shutout. I don't know what the final score is going to be, but the Giants are going to have a big fat donut next to their name. Okay? And let's look at Eli Manning's career. Steve Smith was supposed to be the next great thing. He left New York and never became anything. Right? You had Plexico Burress, who was okay in Pittsburgh, went to New York and was great, and then nothing. Right? Every receiver that's come along the way, and I'm including Odell Beckham, I don't think Odell Beckham is as good as Odell Beckham is. I think Odell Beckham is good because Eli Manning is the quarterback. And he's proven that. Every receiver he's gotten, David Tyree, Plexico Burress, Steve Smith, he's made them better. And when they've gone on to greener pastures, they've disappeared. I'm telling you, I'm not going to be surprised if Odell Beckham Jr. next year becomes an afterthought by week 8 and is pulling Amari Cooper numbers up all year long. I'm telling you.
I'm not going to argue that, but he could be back. He could be back to his peak self in 2019.
Not if he doesn't have a quarterback to get him the ball.
I mean, if the Giants draft a quarterback,
who?
Like a Rosen or a Darnold or maybe even Josh Allen if he sits for a year, yeah, Beckham's going to struggle next year with a rookie quarterback. Even if they use David Webb as their quarterback, so they're not in an ideal situation, and they're going to win a couple games, but they're not in Browns territory. Nobody's in Browns territory.
No.
Nobody's even close to Browns territory. But they're sinking ship, and Mario's going to clean house. He will get rid of Reese. He will get rid of McAdoo, and you never know. Eli, because of his difficult contract, may still be on the team next year. Whether he's starting, that's a different story. But you're not going to have the highest paid clipboard holder in the league on your team. You just can't do that.
Eric, I'm telling you right now that no trade clause is officially been waived. It's already been waived. He is going to be in Jacksonville.
If that were the case, he would have been traded. He would have been traded at the deadline this year.
No. I'm saying after this stunt, he's probably gone to the GM and said, "Yeah, that no trade clause. You go ahead and trade me this offseason. I'm game."
Yeah, okay, what's Jacksonville going to offer? They're going to lowball the Giants because, Eli's holding off the cards and where he wants to go, but it's like, okay, well, the Giants are in the worst situation possible, so let's offer him a 7th rounder and a bag of chips. And the Giants are going to say no, and then they're going to try to get Jacksonville even more, and, they're going to be playing hardball. The Jaguars are going to be playing hardball with the Giants because Tom Coughlin still has a bad taste in his mouth from when he left, so he's like, I'm not going to do crap.
Okay, two things here. Two things. One, he is not going to play games. If he has an opportunity to get Eli, he's going to get Eli because he knows it's going to make his team a Super Bowl competitor. And there's no better slap in the Giants' face than giving him a 3rd-round pick and a 4th-round pick and a 5th-round pick if they want it for Eli Manning to turn around and win a Super Bowl. I'm just saying, whatever the asking price is, as long as Jacksonville doesn't feel like they're giving up the farm, they're going to do it. That's number one. Number two, you really think the New York Giants, after what they've been pulling this year, especially right now, have the intelligence to know what a good deal even is? I think a 7th-round pick and a player to be named later, the Giants would jump up for joy going, hey, we got an extra pick. They're that dumb. They hired Ben McAdoo. This GM is letting this happen knowing the coach is gone. If what you're saying is true. What I think is going on, because I have no respect for Mara right now, the Giants owner. None. You're going to sit there as the owner and let this happen when you know, supposedly, according to what you're saying, that you're going to let the GM and the head coach go anyway? Then why are you letting him make this decision? This is where you step in as an owner and go, no, Eli is starting, end of story. Figure something else out. This is a he should have done that the day it was released. Should have been a non-story.
Okay. Rank these bad coaching hires in order. McAdoo, Lane Kiffin. Oh, I just have the third one and I lost it. So rank who would you rather? Who has been the worst hire between those two?
I mean, McAdoo. Because at least with Lane Kiffin, he was young and hopeful. You hired McAdoo strictly because you believed McAdoo had a really tight relationship with Eli Manning. So you let a legend go. You cut Coughlin loose for this idiot because of his relationship with Eli Manning. And now we see what that relationship with Eli Manning looks like. And let's not forget the scoring drought the Giants had at the end of last year. It's not like this is new. And that was with Odell Beckham Jr. So, yeah, this is one of the worst hiring decisions I've seen in the last 10 years. One of them. I'm not saying the worst. And you know what? Lane Kiffin's doing pretty damn good in Florida Atlantic right now.
Well, it's Florida Atlantic. How do you do in Tennessee? How do you do in Oakland? Okay.
How old was he in Oakland? How old was he in Tennessee? How old was he in Alabama? He's a young guy. There's going to be growing pains,
I don't know. He's still famous for getting fired before he got on the plane.
Well, look, the one thing we all agree on, and you had said it long before this was a storyline that everyone's laughing about now because some famous Giant fan said that McAdoo shouldn't have gotten on the plane from San Francisco. You said that first. You said if the Giants don't beat the 49ers, McAdoo shouldn't be allowed back on the plane.
I know. I said it.
I know you did. I know you did. I'm giving you credit for that. All right, we've spent a lot of time on this. I've clearly had my rant. Is there any other news that you want to mention?
Yeah, there's one thing that I thought was actually rather funny. So, the University of Tennessee Volunteers have been looking for a coach. They've really fumbled their way in their coaching search. And I'm going the college route here because there is some NFL news to go along with it. They wanted to hire Greg Schiano. Now, if you remember Greg Schiano, he head coach at Rutgers for a while, got them actually to respectable levels, getting them to bowl games. And then he went on and took a job at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and barely lasted 2 seasons, if it was that. And, Tennessee Volunteers wanted to hire Greg Schiano. He had been the defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes for a couple of years, and he got a lot of good, vouchers from Urban Meyer and other coaches around the league. So Tennessee's like, okay, let's hire Greg Schiano. So once they announced it, said, oh yeah, we're going to announce his hiring at a press conference on Sunday. Fans went to 100 fans went to Tennessee's campus to protest, and lo and behold, the power of social media got the guy canned before he even could start calling people on the phone and saying, hey, that's the job. He was in the job, and he was out of the job as soon as he was out of the job. So they've been going back and forth trying to find people, and David Cutcliffe from Duke was one. They've had others. But what I found really fascinating is that 2 days ago at practice, yesterday at practice at the Dallas Cowboys facility, OutKickTheCoverage.com asked and pretty much ran a story saying Jason Witten would leave the Cowboys in a heartbeat to go coach the Tennessee Volunteers. And I started laughing. I could not believe it. I'm like, there's no way in the world that Jason Witten, who plays through some of the worst injuries, some of the injuries. I think was playing with a ruptured spleen or one of those games a few years back where like he could barely walk, but he was out on that field and he's an Iron Man. He is literally an Iron Man. But he's like, yeah, I'm refuting that story here and now. There's no way I'm leaving the Dallas Cowboys anytime soon, and I'm not going to be coaching anytime soon. Maybe down the road, but not while I'm still playing football. So I just thought it was funny that somebody tried to run a story saying that Jason Witten was going to go coach the Tennessee Volunteers right now. And a little bit of other news, every time Tennessee has an opening, one name keeps coming up and coming up and coming up. And it's like, enough already. And that's John Gruden's name. Listen, if Gruden hasn't been back in coaching football, I know he's got a sweet gig on Monday Night Football, but if he hasn't been back in coaching for this long, I'm giving him the Bill Cowher treatment that he is not going back into coaching. Okay? And he says he wants to, but obviously the right fit has to come along. And I don't think there is a right fit for John Gruden at this time or will be in the near future. I just thought it was a story that it was something I wanted to share. And I don't know how many people might have heard it, but I just shake my head and be like, you're supposed to be a journalist. You're supposed to be, I know you might be a sports website, but you're really trying to run with this story. Come on. Let's have a little integrity.
The epitome of unprofessionalism. I will say this. I think John Gruden will coach one specific team. I don't know who that team is, but John Gruden does. Maybe it's his favorite team growing up as a kid, whoever that is. I don't know. But I think the reason John Gruden's name keeps coming up and the reason he keeps saying, yeah, he'd coach if the situation was right, is because he's looking for one specific team. And I don't know who it is, but that's the only explanation I can have on him. Because Bill Cowher constantly says, I don't want to coach, and his name was coming up. Gruden has said he will coach. So it's got to be a specific team, right?
You would think, yeah.
It's the only thing I can think of. It's the only thing that makes sense. So
I'll tell you what. I think I know the perfect situation, and I think I know the perfect team. And it just dawned on me. So I know this team lost its starting quarterback a few weeks ago. And there's always a chance that fans aren't happy with the way this particular head coach coaches at times. That's true for any fan base, but this one in particular.
You're talking about the Packers.
I'm talking about Green Bay.
Yeah.
Could you see him going to Green Bay and coaching Aaron Rodgers? I mean, that's where basically Gruden got his NFL start.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to rule it out, Eric, but I really genuinely think it's his favorite team. Whoever his favorite team is, that's the team he's waiting for. If it's Green Bay, it's Green Bay. I don't think it's a situation like that. If his favorite team was the Colts and they offered him a job, I think he'd take it. I don't know who his favorite team is. I just get the feeling that it's a specific team. There's a lot of places that would be intriguing for him to go to. And Green Bay is definitely one of them because he started there. Going back to Oakland and righting that wrong would be a great story. I don't know. But I'm convinced it's a specific team. And I don't think the situation matters because I just think he wants to be able to say he coached his favorite team, whoever that is. And we may never know. We may never know. But because I will give Gruden credit where credit's due. There are certain teams he acts like he likes, but, it's not like Mike Greenberg. Thank God he's no longer doing Mike and Mike. Who, would sit there and tell you, or Rich Eisen, who sits there and tells you every 5 minutes that his favorite team's the Jets. Gruden doesn't do that. So that's what I think. Yes, Green Bay would be intriguing, miserable, because I think Green Bay would be relevant for a long time still, and I'm kind of ready for something new, but it certainly would be intriguing. But then you have to think about this. Does he really want to go somewhere for 2 years and then have to rebuild all over again? Or would he rather build something from scratch and have it for a long time like Belichick?
Yeah, but Green Bay seems to be not necessarily rebuilding, but building towards what, I don't know. They don't spend money in free agency. Ted Thompson kind of is a little cheap in that regard. They basically re-sign their own free agents. That's great for as long as you can do that. Maybe they give you a hometown discount and whatnot, but you can't keep getting away with that and expect to be Super Bowl contenders every year.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
So in essence, I mean, they're wasting Aaron Rodgers' best years.
Well,
Which is fine by me. I mean, great. He has him only win one Super Bowl. I don't care. I'd rather have him lose that Super Bowl if you ask me. But if that's the only one he wins and that's the only one he gets to, as a Bears fan, I'm fine with that.
Eric, they've been doing that for years. They've been wasting him for years. They've been wasting him for years.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, this isn't anything new, and it's part of the frustration of Packer fans and why they hate McCarthy. Packer fans like McCarthy as much as Giant fans like McAdoo. The difference is McCarthy finds ways to stay relevant and keep his job. McAdoo has not. Although apparently it looks like to me he may very well keep it.
McCarthy has a better haircut too.
Well, ain't that the freaking truth, dude? Him and Mike Davis. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Go to Great Clips for $10 and fix it. Like, it's not hard to do. You make millions of dollars. It's ridiculous. Anyway, all right. Well, that's a wrap. We went way over as usual. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Eric.
And this is LA Rams Central. And go Rams! Dude.